So we have been buying, I say we've been buying, we're constantly always buying. We've just had a couple of Audi RS cars arrive, proper bits of us. So we're going to be doing like a little bit of a stock tour at Binker today. Do you know what, we had something really interesting coming as well that I know you're not going to like, so we will talk about that as well. We're not going to do a tour of the whole yard because we'll be here all day, but the, where should we start? X3M? We've had a crazy amount of interest in that car, like a ridiculous amount of interest. Really good news they are. We've just taken a deposit on it, so that is currently sold, providing the deal goes through. RSQ3, we'll talk about that shortly, because that's the car that I kind of want to, I've never had one of them as a bit of stock before. I've never driven one. It's a car that I'm quite excited about driving. Obviously the 5-pot engine is massively popular in the car scene, so we're going to go for a little drive in that shortly. Now this thing here, this is what I want to show you. This has just arrived as a bit of stock. And the reason why I'm doing this video as well, by the way, because I want to talk about, some people say to me, Calvin, how do I get into the car trade? How do I become a car trader? What's the sort of steps to being a trader? Ultimately, you've got to buy cars, yeah? Get yourself out there and buy stock. We buy stock mainly from private sellers. You don't know that because I do a lot of private seller videos. But we, you know, sometimes when you're trying to source certain types of cars, you've got to branch out a little bit. Look at various auctions, like things like eBay, even Facebook Marketplace. I say that, I don't buy cars from Facebook Marketplace, it's a bit of a palaver. But yeah, just get yourselves out there. Use a valuation system. Obviously, I use enterreg.com because that's our own platform. And it's got I say because it's our own platform, it's got everything you need in there. It's got cap valuations, and it's got auto trader valuations as well. So the whole market is guided by valuations. As long as you're buying at trade and selling at retail, well, you're going to earn money, right? Obviously, there's a few variations to that. The cars need to be right, they need to be as little prep as possible, not too much work, but the priority is always buying, right, okay? So this car here is actually a bespoke Land Rover Defender. Bespoke literally means it is bespoke, yeah, it's completely custom. Whole interior has been done, like literally roof lining, it's got an Alcantara headlining, it's got new steering wheel, the gear shifter. For those that are familiar with these cars will know that that's not a familiar or a usual gear shifter. It's got diamond stitch leather. Have a guess what you think the value of this car is, but before you do that, let me show you now under the bonnet. Big tyres, just proper Land Rover stuff. Vans are good news as well, by the way. Like, we sell a lot of vans, they're bloody good news, man. But again, it's all about buying right. You've got to buy right. Get the purchasing right, and it will sell. Yeah, things just sell. Get them advertised right, and they'll sell. Get them, you know, cleaned up, photographed, and prepared correctly for sale, and they'll sell. Anyway, under the bonnet of this, we've got an LS3 Corvette 6.2 litre V8 engine. So yeah, this car has had a crazy amount of work, and I've got this up for sale for over £100,000. So it's dusty, it needs a clean, but that is an absolute gem of a car. So that car there, I haven't actually bought that. So going back to being a trader, you've got to be careful with how you spend your money. So sometimes you'll buy a car and it will sit around for months. That does happen, right? But likewise, you'll buy a car sometimes and you'll put the money into that car and you'll sell it the following day. Like, some things just sell instantly, some things take ages to sell, but you've always got to be choosy, depending on how much money you've got in the bank, of course, but you've always got to be choosy with how you're spending your money, because that money is your tool, and whilst that's spent out, well, you can't use that tool anymore. So you need to be really choosy with how you spend the money. So that car there, I could buy that. If I did buy it, it would take a lot of money out of my balance as such, and it would stop me from being able to buy lots of other deals. So that car there, we're selling that on the behalf of the current owner. It's a great bit of stock. When it sells, we'll earn out of it. But again, it's just about being choosy with how you spend your money. This here is it's just arrived as well, 21 plate Ford Ranger. Great stock that is. Honestly, they're such good sellers. It's a good spec one, it's a wild track. We try to buy a lot of trucks. There's something else I just mentioned about vans, commercial vehicles, trucks as well. That actually came from a local company that we buy a lot of vehicles off. Really nice things. You can see like the variations of where cars come from, because people say to me, what's the best place to buy cars from? Be open-minded, don't just look at one place. I like buying from private sellers, but that ain't the only place we buy from. So the RSQ3 came from an auction, and the RS3, this is here as well. Really nice car this is. This also came from an auction, but it's so difficult trying to find cars that are, especially sports and performance cars, which you guys know we sell a lot of. It's really difficult finding good examples. I say difficult, again, you've got to work hard to find good examples. This car here is a one owner from new car. It's done 47,000 miles, I think. And spec, you can straight away see it's got a pan roof and it's got super sport seats as well. It's really difficult finding a car like that. They're a few years old now. I think, what was that, 8 years old, is it? It's just hard finding prime bits of stock. The R8, we've done a video on that. That video might have gone live already, I'm not sure, but that car there, 25,000 miles, lovely low mileage example. We picked that up from a private seller. It's a guy that we know personally, so we know that's a really good car. He's had it for over 11 years. Even that, it's been ceramic coated, it feels lovely. So yeah, again, showing an example of where the cars are being sourced from to give you an idea of, I suppose, the quality of the source. That's what really, really matters, yeah? So it's good to know where a car comes from. That's why I prefer to buy things privately. This car here has just arrived. It's actually my little brother Curtis's car. He just loves Porsches, just absolutely loves Porsches. He's also a good example of someone who's good to buy a car from because he's got massive OCD. He's got issues, man. He's got issues. He likes everything to be perfect. So that's a lovely bit of stock. The Shed M5, this is not a big bit of stock. This is obviously categorized. I bought it deliberately as the cheapest, worst F10 M5 in the country. Bought it on purpose from a friend in the car trade. It had a whole load of issues with it, as you lot know, and we've pretty much fully rebuilt that car. It's nice now. It is nice. I took it to my car show recently and I thoroughly enjoyed driving it. It's got a couple of issues still that we need to sort out, but yeah, that will never, I say it will never be up for sale. It probably will go up for sale at some point, but for now, we're just using it as content for the channel. Now, the RS Q3, should we get onto that now? We shall get onto that. Was there a car over there? Which is a Q5 in the corner. That's quite nice, but nothing too exciting. RS Q3, these are 400 brake horsepower. Just such a good all-rounder, aren't they? They're a good size, they're a good shape, they're good looking. This is obviously the new generation. We gave an earlier one away on Planet of Dreams recently. I love that car, I spent a lot of time in it. The 5-cylinder engine, as I mentioned earlier, it's a gem of an engine. Everyone seems to love them. And yeah, this car kind of suits families, it suits, you know, it could be a petrol head. You don't even need to be a petrol head. You could daily drive this car. This suits so many different types of people. It's very similar to the X3M, in fact. And values-wise, I think, in fact, let's pull up Enter Reg now. Before we do Enter Reg, should we do the dreaded car vertical check? Let's do that first, yeah? So a big shout out to Car Vertical for sponsoring this video. I will link them in the description below. All of the cars that we've spoke about in today's video, I check every single one of them when I buy a car, because without doing your checks, you'll never know what you're buying. It's so important that you do your checks. I say this in every single video. And if you do use Car Vertical, use my code CCD to get a discount, all right? I'll link them in the description below. So if I put up the Car Vertical check, it's such basic stuff, but it's basic stuff that you really need to know about. So this is the RSQ3 here. You've got the chassis number, which again, it's important to check that against the logbook. Just double check all these things when you're buying a car. You don't need to be so particular when you're buying from a dealership, but more importantly, if you're buying from like a private seller, someone on eBay, or you're a trader yourself and you're buying from private sellers like I do myself, you've got to be sort of, not on your back foot, but you've got to be a bit skeptical of what you're buying. So things like chassis number, odometer, that's really important. It's important that you ensure that the mileage is correct. I think the mileage on this currently is about 48,000 miles, similar to the mileage on the RS3. Mileage is all good, which is important. It's got finance showing in it, which we know about, which is being cleared, so that's all good. But again, you don't want to buy a car that's got finance on it, because if you buy it and it's got finance on it and discover that and didn't do your checks, sorry, and discover later on down the line that it has finance outstanding on it, well, that finance company can take that car off you. Whether or not you've bought that car and you feel like you own that car, you don't. They own your car and they will take it off you. So be careful about that. And again, that's why it's so important to do your checks. No previous damage as well, which is really good. And it's never been stolen. And again, it's got the schedule of the mileage there. Of course, this car is only a few years old, so there's only one point of reference there for mileage, but it's showing there 32,979 in August 2023. If you scroll down as well, this bit's really interesting. Again, it gives you the sort of opportunity to build an idea of the background of the car. RSQ3 grey, I ain't even mentioned the colour. Nardo grey, man, such a nice colour. 400 brake horsepower these are from factory. And this car is a stock car as well, by the way. It was manufactured in 2020, yeah, January 2020. It was registered a bit later on down the line, August 2020. And you can see there, the first owner was in January 2021. And I'm guessing her name was Megan. I'm saying she because that is a female's name, because it's got a private plate there, ME66, wicked plate, ME66GAN. And then the ownership changed again in May 2021, so she had it a few months, and then it changed to V55 Kel, so I'm guessing Kelly, random guess, pretty good guess I'd say. So it's gone from Megan to Kelly, and then after that it's changed again, and it's now in our hands. So it's had 2 former keepers, potentially both females, but again, it just gives you the idea, builds a picture of the background of the car, which I think is really, really important. So as mentioned, I will link car vertical in the description below, and I'll show you an example of an RSQ3 that's been crashed. That's another prime example of what you do not want to see when you're doing a car vertical check. Now let's look at the valuations. So again, let's quickly talk about the RS3. Let's assume you're watching this video from a trader point of view. So you're trying to get into the trade. You want to understand about buying and selling and buying things right. This car here, as mentioned, it's got 0 former keepers, which is amazing. But then at the same time, I wouldn't always rule out cars that got more owners. Just because the car's had a few more owners doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad car, but you want as many fighting chances as you possibly can to get in top value for a car. So the fact that it's got 0 former keepers is a massive plus. Like, that's so attractive to a wider audience of people. So if you scroll down now to the valuations, you'll see that the cap clean trade valuation there is £20,700. That's basically what that car books at as a trader in the trade in good condition. I would say that car is in very, very good condition. We've obviously had it cleaned up. It's looking really good. And then the retail value there, according to cap, is £25,000. This is enterreg.com. This is our own platform. I'm not just saying this is good because it's our own platform, it's because we're using cap, who are brilliant, and we're using Auto Trader, who are obviously brilliant as well. So if you look at the Auto Trader valuations, they're almost identical. £20,400 in the trade, that's for the RS3, and then almost £26,000 as a retail car. Now you can afford to pay more than trade, and you might potentially sell it for more than retail. They're not always accurate and not always bang on. You know, you've got to take a bit of a risk. There's always an element of risk when you're buying anything used. It could have inconsistencies with the condition, inconsistencies with the mechanicals or the prep that might need doing. So there's never no rigid format with you buy at X and sell at retail. You've got to be a bit, you know, a bit tolerant, accept a bit of leeway, but that gives you, it's just ballpark figures, which you really, I say ballpark, they're figures that we really do rely on, okay? Now, if we look at the valuations on the RSQ3, here we go, SW20 CVY, we already know, 2 former keepers, MOT till August 24, so it's going to need an MOT. Cap trade valuation in clean condition. It needs a clean, which is not what it's talking about. It's the overall body condition of the car. The body works clean, the wheels look like they're good, it just needs a good valet, this car, okay? So £36,000 trade according to cap, and then £36,000 again according to Auto Trader as a trade car. Retail values are 42, just shy of 42 grand according to Auto Trader, and then just shy of 42 grand again, or 41,500 according to cap. Yeah, sometimes the margins are big and probably a bit excessive. You know, sometimes private sellers might want a bit more money, you might be able to give a bit more for their car, and you might not sell as likewise on the other side as quite as high as what the retail valuation, so meaning your margin then gets squashed. But it could go one way or the other depending on the quality of the car, the demand of the car, and the amount of prep that it needs. So I'm talking about all of this because I think it's so important. I get asked so many questions about the trade in general, and I can't just give one answer. I just encourage people, just keep watching the videos and you'll learn along the way. Like I say all the time, we started with 1 car, and you buy and sell that 1 car, and it turns into 2, and so on. And here we are now. I think we've currently got about 180 cars advertised on Auto Trader. So there's, you know, there's a method. There is a bit of a method. It's not just taking punts on things all the time. There is structure involved, and you learn along the way as well. But one thing I always say is just keep buying. Our motive or our method or our game plan every single day is just get up and keep buying as much as we can, and it comes good the other side, all right? So I want to drive this RSQ3 because, as I always say, I started out doing this because I love cars, yeah? That's where this journey started ultimately. So I am excited about driving this car. I've never driven one before. It's going to be a brief drive. I want to have a little feel for it. And it is also good to drive stock, yeah, before you sell it, because just a little drive, I mean, you could inspect it here on the spot, but not drive it. You don't know what it drives like. It's good to drive it, because then when that customer buys that car, you know full well, I've driven that car, I know how well that drives, and you can install that confidence into that customer when you're doing that sale. So I'm going to take it for a spin, have a little feel for it, and not just have a feel for it from a stock point of view, but also from a petrol head's point of view. Let's jump in. That is it. Well, it's all very nice in here, isn't it? Love these seats, by the way, love them. Like, so are they the sport seats? Do they come in all of them? I don't know, but they're a lovely looking seat. They've got the diamond stitching, the traditional Audi RS stitching anyway on the seats. But this is nice. This is a nice feature. It's got like a red Alcantara strip down the side of the seat, and obviously the headrest is all part of the seat as well. So they're a one-piece seat as such. Let's start the engine up. That lovely 5-cylinder raw. I say raw, it's sort of toned down a little bit in the later cars because they've got the OPF filters, but it still sounds good. Loss of tyre pressure. Rear brake pads need replacing apparently, so we need to get them done before we can sell this car. But again, giving you an idea of what needs to be done. This car's literally just arrived. You can see it's still got the marks on the windows from where it came out of the auction, and it is filthy dirty. Must be a dusty auction because this thing is covered in dust. It's always in the buying. Get yourself out there, buy it. And it ain't about spending lots of money. As I said earlier, we started out with one single car, and that one single car was £600. So it's not always just about the amount of money you're spending. You can buy and sell things that are smaller amounts of money, you know, you don't have to overspend. It's not always about how much you're spending, it's about what you're spending that money on. That is the most important thing. It is all in the buying, guys. And us as a business, or us as a family, let's just wash that windscreen. Wow, there's a lot of dust on that windscreen. Yeah, our motto is just keep buying. Focus on the buying. Buy as much as you possibly can because everything sells. Get it clean, get it prepared, get it advertised correctly for the right money, and it will sell, yeah? Don't hold back on things like Auto Trader and various marketing places because they're worth spending the money. That's what they do a good job of what they're doing. Some of these places, like Auto Trader in particular, they are expensive, but they do such a good job. And if you're feeding them platforms with the right stock, then they will sell, right? So we're buying over 100 cars a month consistently, and whilst you're buying, you're gonna sell cars. You don't make money on all of them, admittedly, but we accept that. Every now and then you lose money on some, and some you'll buy and you'll think, oh, this is an incredible car, and then you'll sell it, and then an issue will arise after the point of sale. It does happen. We're dealing with used items. It's not, you know, it's supposed to happen. That's what they're supposed to do. They break, they go wrong. There is inconsistencies, there is issues, there is headaches along the line. I say headaches, they're not really headaches. They're just a standard part of dealing with any used item, all right? So the point is, Cal, buy, yeah? Buy. Keep buying, and don't matter how much money you got, work within your budget, make that budget spread as far as you possibly can, and just try and buy things for the right money, below retail value, and then get them advertised at retail value, yeah? So, by the way, the spec on this car is it's got a fuel light on it. It needs fuel, it needs it clean, it needs brake pads, but that engine is so nice. And yeah, the spec, it's got the seats with the red touches, which I've just mentioned. It's also got a pan roof, which is really nice. Reverse camera as well, which is a bit of a must. This is all #Cal spec stuff, and I did notice as well it's got heated seats. They're all the important ones in my eyes anyway, so it's always nice to see all of that. Just pulls so well, sounds amazing, looks the part. One thing I sort of touched on earlier that I sort of went into and didn't continue talking about was the fact that this is similarly priced to the BMW X3M. Performance-wise or power-wise, these are 400 brake. They're obviously a 6-cylinder engine. They're a lovely engine, the BMW S58. Twin turbocharged. They're over, I think they're about 500 brake horsepower, so the next 100 horsepower. Which car would you rather have for the same budget? Would you rather have the X3M or the RSQ3? I feel like, personally, you know, for me, it's without a doubt, I'd rather have the X3M, but there's so many people that would rather have this over that. Some people just love Audis, some people just love BMWs. For me, I am a BMW man, but again, going back to being a car dealer, you've got to buy, you can't be like, oh, I'm just like BMW, so I can't buy Audis or Volkswagens. Obviously, I like Audis and Volkswagens. You've got to buy things that are good for the market, that are good bits of stock, and also, for the 10th time in this video, making sure that you buy right. And this is one of the joys of being a car dealer. You get to experience these cars, you get to drive them, and it is important, as I said earlier, it's important that you drive them. It's good, it's important that you experience them and have a feel for them, because you get an idea of what they drive like, what they perform like, and when you're selling the car, you know what you're talking about when you're selling it as well. So it's yeah, it is a nice part of the trade. And for me, it's part of the reason why I don't have my own car, because I get so excited about just jumping in different cars and experiencing them that I think if I had my own car, I don't know, would I even use it? I don't know. One day it would happen. So yeah, I'm really happy. I just wanted to get a video up talking about new stock and new arrivals at Bincar, talking about the mindset behind the whole business, sort of buying, keep buy. That's really, really important. And I do want to encourage people that, you know, if you're thinking about getting into the car trade, or forget if you're thinking about getting into the car trade, if you're at all interested in the car trade and you've got any questions, just ask me. This is what I do. This is what I'm doing every day. If you've got any questions whatsoever that you're interested in or curious about within the car trade, just ask me and I'll do as many car trade related videos as I possibly can. I don't know why that camera's rattling around like mad. It's a little bit irritating, but I'll do as many car trade related videos as I can, just answering as many of your questions as I can, all right? So yeah, nice bit of stock. We're gonna get it cleaned up, get it prepped, get it photographed. In fact, I'll show you some shots of it now, looking clean. Looking much better, innit? It's amazing what a clean does to a car, innit? So yeah, loving it. Got a Citroen up my arse. Let's just smoke Citroen for banter. See you later, Citroen.